Hi guys, I want to talk about the one thing that I would do differently if I could go back in time to when I was 18, even 16 years old. Very obvious answer for me is I would have started investing in things way earlier. Nobody ever took me aside and said, hey, invest in, a stock, a mutual fund, any of that. And I mean, nobody ever said, even if it's $10, $20. I mean, my theory always behind that was, only the rich invest, or you got to have $100,000 or $50,000 or $20,000, and when you're in your teens or your 20s, you're like, well, that's going to be forever until I get that much money. That's what I was always led to believe, or I guess I never really did any research on it back then in 2003, 2004. Just never knew anything about that stuff. I just always assumed that, like I said, you had to be rich, or this was something you did when you were 40 years old. And the reality is, the compound interest really, really, really adds up over the time. I mean, it's amazing what the difference between 30 years is and 40 years or 50 years even for investing. I mean, even if you can't afford anything, I'm talking even $10 a month really adds up over time, over the course of 40 or 50 years. Or, in my case, I didn't really start looking into this stuff until about 2016 roughly. So, I mean, we're talking, I've basically been invested, I think, for about 2.5 years in things. That was when I started. So you might as well just say summer of 2016. And that year I was turning 31 years old. So, I mean, I'm 33, going to be 34 in 2019. So, I mean, at least I got it figured out early 30s, right? I just started doing research about this stuff and figured it out. And so at least I'm not too late. I guess, what do they always say? Better late than never. But, the reality is, yeah, I mean, you add another 10 or 15 years into that, man, and I missed a lot of money there. Like I said, even when I couldn't afford much, and I still can't even afford as much as I would like to. Believe me, if I had a lot more to throw in, I definitely would. Mutual funds, different stocks, and I'm going to make another video talking about a couple of the ones that I'm actually already invested in now, and then even some other ones that I would like to get invested in that if you happen to run across this video and you got the money, throw it in. So I'll talk about some mutual funds that I like. I'll talk about some dividend-paying stocks that I like, different things like that. I'll just go into a little bit more detail on some of them. But anyway, yeah, I'll put a link below for an investing calculator, like just a calculator that you can plug in numbers for investments. And I'm telling you, if you go in there and just plug in some numbers, you'll be amazed at how much that can add up over time. I mean, even with some really conservative numbers like 5% or 6%, 7%, 8%. I think, a lot of things tell you, like an S&P 500 fund, averages around anywhere from like, I've read different things, but yeah, 9-10% roughly. Some say a little less, some say a little more, but whatever, just say 9%. But, that might even be pushing a high number. I mean, just throw in 7%, which I think most people are going to gain over 30 or 40 years. It's amazing what those numbers really add up to be. So, yeah, if you are young, 18, 19, 20, I'm telling you, just save a little bit of money, invest. Me personally, I love Vanguard. I think they're one of the best. To me, they're the best, but of course that's all opinions. I mean, there's plenty of places out there to invest. You got Fidelity, E-Trade, Scottrade. I know there's plenty more, but I like Vanguard because they got some really, really awesome mutual funds that are just over time are fantastic. And like I said, I'll make another video talking a little bit more in depth about a few of those and some of them that I like. So yeah, definitely invest some money. Like I said, even if it's $20 a month, whatever it takes. Some of these mutual funds will have minimums. Like there's some funds, I mean, literally the minimum is $3,000. So obviously if you're 18, 19, 20 and not making much money. It might take you a while to be able to get the minimum of $3,000 for those, but even if you can't afford that, you can always throw it into different ETFs, and as long as you got enough money to cover one stock, I mean, you can get started. So, if the one ETF, if the starting price of that is at $152.17, you have to have at least that amount to get started. And many of those are commission free as well. So on Vanguard, a lot of those ETFs you can get into and not have to pay any commission, which is fantastic. Most commission stocks, or when you buy one, I mean, many sites, some like Robinhood claim to be free. I haven't really looked too heavily into them, but like Vanguard, for instance, if you buy 5 shares of Apple stock, that's going to cost you a $7 commission fee. So you always have to keep that in mind. Can't say I'd recommend buying Apple stock per se. Go back to 2003 when it was like $1.05 or whatever at one point. That would have been a good time to buy and see. Had I known that back in 2003, I would have thrown, even $100 into it, right? $100. I could have afforded that myself even in 2003. I'm sure I could have came across $100 back then, threw it in there, be worth a whole lot more today. So, but it's easy to look in hindsight, but I'm telling you, yeah, if you're, like I said, 16, 17, 18, the best advice I can give you to help you in the future is invest a little bit of money, even if it's a very low amount. So I'll get into more of that later about specifics of what I like, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.